First of all, we'll talk to the top here where we have the ladies and gentlemen. We're looking for a few brave souls like the Marines are looking for. And of course, they are the people who will speak to the Texas Legislature about the 5 bills that will level the lake of Texas property taxation. We move over here to General George S. Patton. General Patton was known for courage and bravery. And sometimes when you get the story from the people to say, "Coach, I'd like to help you, but the only agency I fear more than the IRS is the appraisal district." And of course that can be true. First of all, let's say we want you to give your views on these 5 bills to the Texas Legislature, and we'd like for you to do that by sending an email to Coach Dan Hart at msn.com. Then I'll forward those on to the Texas Legislature in a package for maximum effect rather than sending them one here or there. Okay, the first bill that we want to talk briefly about is establishing small claims court tax appeal. That can be done with a very quick explanation. Right now, small and the big boys have to go to district court. Big boys go and spend $5,000 and then they come back with $100,000 savings or more. The small people go there. What happens? They spend $5,000 and get back $500. We're not going to do that. The next one is to establish an equal and uniform appraisal manual for the residences and homes across the state of Texas. We have oil and gas manuals, we have timber manuals and other manuals. But for some reason, guess what? Yeah, they don't want the homeowners to have a standard procedure that creates equal and uniform taxation across every county in the state of Texas. Now moving to the next thing, retrospective appraisals. This is an item that I want to use my fingers quickly here to describe. If you have a sale here and we're trying to judge the accuracy of their appraisals, the appraisal districts, and then you move forward in time and then you look back and tack on the sale price as your appraisal from the district, that corrupts not only selling properties but all the bigger portion of the non-selling properties. One simple rule is put into this law. This bill says that what will happen if you're using that in a ratio equity study, the sale occurs here. Just before the sale, you have a value that the district had on there. That ratio will be the way of grading the district. When that happens, it means they're doing a good job of selling and also the non-selling properties. However, I think our indication is there are mass errors in mass appraisal, and we'll cover that in just a moment. Moving to the next bill here, you must establish one source of legal opinion. 4,000 or 5,000 different attorneys across the state of Texas cannot be opining on each. Maybe one issue comes up in 5 or 6 counties or the whole state. You can't have different rules all over the place. Abiding by that, it creates not level and equal taxation, it keeps beaver pond taxation. Now the last one up here is establishing transparency in the accounting system and letting the taxpayers know what the big boys are doing to lower their taxes. Simply transparency and appraisal would be this. Property for $1 million comes in informally behind closed doors and drops it to $800,000. At the present time, we don't know why, how, or anything about that drop. We need that drop to occur, and we need it recorded and kept in the records without having to go to open records to try to get information. Secondly, after it goes to the ARB, they may drop it from $800,000 to $600,000. We want that to be known and how it's dropped. Now, we're not after every bank account and every nickel and dime that made a difference. What we want are the basic general idea of why it was dropped and how much. And that record shall be maintained all the way through the court system. So we finally get an idea of how well the appraisal district is doing their job. Now, with those things in mind there, we then step over to General George S. Patton again, and below him we notice a line right here. A very important thing about Texas independence. The things, independence, freedom, and democracy, it says here, what more important principles could we teach our children? We need to teach our children to stand up, be just, fear not. Over here we want to go to a situation in the middle here where we have a picture and the car is knocking nuts and bolts out and about to fail. The system, the property tax system, is just like that. Isn't it about time for a change? And these 5 bills are the ones that will do the job. Let's move over to the other side of the screen and take a look at least one home in the Houston area that's under the careful hands of our Senator Paul Betancourt. Naturally, Paul didn't have time to go to the hearing, so he sent one of his expert appraisers. After listening to a 4-minute tape deciding the value on a property that has a market value and an equity value is $6,893,700. Whoo! Now, here on this side is Paul's figures, and the district figures are over here. Short and sweet, we'll tell you what happened. At the close of the hearing, the ARB 3-member panel decides this. We will set the market value at $6,336,000. Well, then the chairman person, who I don't know if they know exactly what they're doing, they come out and announce that the equity value shall be back up here where the district wanted to start at $6,893,700. Mr. Betancourt is going to be in for a surprise because the tricks of the trade in 4-minute hearing should not hold water. By law, in the court system, anytime you have a problem between a market value and an equity value is the value that wins time and time again. Now, all that occurred in a 4-minute hearing. Can you imagine that? The law says that whatever time is necessary for the property owner to present their entire evidence, that's what they're allotted. I think the whole thing can be summed up down here at the bottom. As you know how well everybody likes a $1.50 hot dog from Costco, including a drink. What a deal. Costco also works on financing property home. What we have here is a situation where the father is open-armed greeting his 2 girls coming home from school to their home sweet home. But in reality, we need to ask him and we need to ask ourselves, do you own it? Do you own your own home? I would say, no, you do not. So let's make a difference. Going back to the closing argument up here, send Coach Hart an email addressed to the 2017 Texas Legislature. Let's join hands. Let's make a difference. Let's pass these bills that will level the Lake of Texas instead of having all this beaver pond taxation where different people are paying different amounts on the same amount of property. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to 2 little areas that make a lot of difference. They seem very unimportant, but they really are not. First of all, you have a situation here where Teresa Terry, the Associate Chief Appraiser of Harris County, is talking to Mr. Merkel, one of the ARB members. They're talking about mass appraisal and about how many people are coming and complaining. Mr. Merkel states, summarizing and shortening it up, Ms. Terry, we could do a better job and cut down on the number of protests if we would notify and change the recorded facts about a particular property from year to year. People come in, they have to come back the next year and their property's up more. Okay, Ms. Terry says, I get that thing too. I know what you're talking about. She admits that that situation is caused where you have mass errors on mass appraisal exposed. She admits here that when you have anything in mass, you have a propensity for errors. And many, many well-documented statements from Pat O'Connor, Jerry Skurdich, and other people who do extensive research in this area find that mass appraisal is mass mistakes. Has anybody ever been in your house to look at your bathroom or look at your kitchen? There are homes that have kitchens and baths that are worth the whole value of another person's property. And because of our letting them get by with it, in just a moment we'll be talking to a situation where the old saying is this: lies are told by people with statistics. Okay, folks, I tell you what, let's think just for a minute. This is a device, it's actually a report card for the appraisal districts across the state of Texas, the property value study. What we ought to first realize, there are now 45 full-time workers in the whole state of Texas working on this important study, which controls school funding and controls a number of other things. One interesting thing you might realize to make the comparison, with the 45 people working full-time on this in the whole state, how many people are involved in the athletics at the University of Texas full-time? I'll tell you, the score is 158 to 45. Now that's something we must get straightened out on. We must put the resources in here so we can have better taxation for the people of the state of Texas. A ratio study is controlled basically by two things: the medium and the red line constitution. We have in Texas a maximum: no property shall be taxed over 100% of its value. What the medium does, it divides two equal shares, as the International Association of Assessing Officers makes the rules, and those are the ones we go by here. What happens when the medium is in the center and it's at 80%? There are a small portion of outliers that are taxed unconstitutional. They have a right for relief. As the medium over the years has been pushed to 90%, the mass of people taxed unconstitutional has risen. Today, at this stage of the game, most all of them have about 99 to 100% medium. What that means is that approximately half of them are taxed unconstitutionally. Now, happens taxpayers what shoot for higher mediums? More money. Schools desire more money. And who can protest? The CADs and the IDs can protest this study regardless of anything. But a taxpayer must be a taxpayer that is an extremely large taxpayer to be able to protest. The question is, who is skewed? And the answer is here: you are the person. Okay, if there are any questions about this situation, you need to inform yourself. You need to read to succeed. You need to understand how the problems are being thrust at you. We would go back and review with you very quickly a situation where mass errors have come in. We have the little diagram right here, and it's Teresa Terry, the chief appraiser of HCAT, talking to Mr. Merkel. And remember the story we had about him. Merkel asked, can't we do something by correcting our mistakes in mass appraisal to stop these people from coming every year? Ms. Terry says, oh, I see the point, yeah, you're talking about. Then she goes on to tell how mass appraisal is like mass anything. There is a propensity for error again and again in mass appraisal. So the mass errors are exposed in the situation with the appraisal we have now. Remember, write your notes about the system to the Texas Legislature and email them to Coach Dan Hart at msn.com, and I'll take good care of them and use them time and time again to help pass these bills. If anyone knows of a senator or representative that you could persuade to talk to Coach Hart for 30 minutes or so, we would be very happy to do that. Thanks together. Let's put our hands together and let's make a difference for Texas. Thank you.